Hey, so I am Sherry's birth mother and her twin sister Cheryl. Birth mother. I just have a couple of things I want to refer to in the book. First, to just share with you what parts of some of the things that are in this book are the same as what I experienced going through that awful time back in the 60s. Yes, I was raised Catholic. And so I suffered greatly from Catholic guilt, strong, overpowering, immense Catholic guilt, even to this day, somewhat. So, but Sherry helped me get through some of it. I was a sophomore in college at the time that I conceived Sherry and Cheryl. I was the first from my family to go to college, and that was a big deal. Thought I was going to be engaged to a man that he was also going to the same university. Went home on a weekend, went to our favorite bar. People were saying, "Oh, Suzanne, how are you?" And it was like sad face, and I didn't know what's going on. And that's when I found out that he was engaged to somebody else. And so I decided to go to this wedding with my mom and dad, and the rest is pretty much the poem that she wrote before she met me. So, anyway, that's what happened with me, but I want to just take you through a couple of things in the book, and then I will open up for questions. Early on, my parents always were very, very open and supportive of all of us children, no matter what. We were bathed in unconditional love. High expectations, but unconditional love. And were encouraged to learn from our mistakes early on. My parents also extended that to other people in the community. Now, understand that I grew up in a very, very small, not one bar, two bars in Coleman, but a very small hometown. And so by the time you get home from school, your parents already knew whatever you did wrong in school. So, but at the time there was a young lady who all of a sudden appeared in class older than me in high school, and she came to live with her grandmother, and she came from Illinois, and all of a sudden she was there one day and noticeably beginning to show that she was pregnant. And of course, in a small town, it was all, the boys were going, "Oh man, she's an easy mark." Okay, and the girls were all, of course, shaming, and my parents invited her over for dinner at our house. I came home the first day that she was there, said to my parents, this girl was in school, and she was already getting harassed, and I'm 4'11", but I'm standing up for her. And so Mom said, "Well, bring her home for dinner." So I did, and she ate at our table many, many times, at least once a week. And then one day, she moved away. She was gone. She had probably gave birth to her child and moved back to her life in Illinois. So my parents, I knew that my parents were that kind of parent that if I did make a mistake, they would be supportive. God bless that they were that way. So when I found out that I was pregnant, I of course went to I told my parents. I also told my parents insisted that I tell the young man, who actually I didn't know till many, many, many years later, that my dad knew the sperm donor, pretty much.
I told him to use that word.
Yeah, because so they made me meet with him and see if he wanted to marry me. And okay, so we went for a ride in the car, and he said, "Well, good luck with that." And so came back in the house, and I said, "All right, I'm on my own. Here we go." Yeah, that was a big thing, because there was no, I screwed up. So anyway, so he pretty much said, "You're on your own." There was nothing that he had to deal with. "No, thank you. I'm off the rest of my life, then good luck. So back then, that was often, probably 90% of the time, if the couple weren't romantically involved, that's what happens. It's just you know, live to deal with it. And then, of course, all the girls, you know, say, well, you know, you're a bad person, and yet most of my girlfriends had had sexual intercourse many times before I ever did, but they didn't get pregnant, and so therefore they didn't get caught, and so therefore they were good and I was bad. That's the way it was. Same story with all of the girls in the home bred with unwed mothers. So I left school by the end of my first semester at the university, went to work for, I went to Catholic Social Services. They put me in a foster home where I worked during the day and took care of the family's children in the evening, helping with homework. Finally, I went to the home for unwed mothers, got to meet all kinds of other gals there from 14 to 29 at the time I was there. We took a fake name. I took my confirmation name.
Rebel.
They had a picture. That was Reggie. And it was really, because years later I think about Reggie White.
Go Packers.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, but after giving them up for adoption, and while I was there, actually, in the home, when it was rest time, I would go down to the typing room because I was still taking 6 credits correspondence course back then so that I could keep going to school. So I actually I graduated with my classmates, with my friends, and so I made it through in 3.5 years and 2 correspondence courses while I was pregnant for them. Because already I realized that I had to be an overachiever to make up for my mistakes. And I spent the next decades of my life, even to this day, trying to make up for that. And I really thought every time I would see, after I gave the girls up for adoption, you would see a story on television about adopted children being abused, and it would devastate me, thinking that some child would be, that maybe it would be my child, and it was awful. And I expected to go to my grave, never ever meeting them, because it was post-adoption back then, and I was not supposed to find them because I would disrupt their lives. And so my greatest fear, of course I figured God gave this to me too, was to have twins. Back then we didn't have ultrasound, so I didn't know until I was on the delivery table that, oops, we're not done yet. And there was another baby. And so from that moment, you know, till the girls were adopted, my greatest fear then was, will they be split up? Just like she said in her writing, that was my greatest fear. Would they take both of them, please? Because then I knew they would always have each other, which was a great thing. But anyway, you know, those were troubled times, and also back then, they didn't have any sex education. There was no talk, oh God forbid, about any contraception. There was no talk, God forbid, that we would even know the birth process or what would happen or how it would happen or what to expect. Oh my God, you know. So for married women, number one, and even married women back then knew very little. Very little. I mean, it was like the big secret. And yes, you know, since Adam and Eve, give me a break. So, you know, it wasn't something that was secret. But when I think about that, I mean, it was like, first of all, I was already being punished because I had to leave my family, because I had younger brothers and sisters to protect. And in a small town, like I said, you know, the grapevine is pretty thick. And I was trying to protect the reputation of my younger brothers and sisters. Not that it worked, but, you know, nobody really said for sure, but the word went around and whatever. My younger brother got a beating of his life, his first really beating of his life, trying to take care of my reputation. And then when he found out that he got beat up for no reason, it was too bad, but he still felt he was proud of defending me. But anyway, you know, so way back then, my first punishment was to leave my family and go to a home for unwed mothers. My second was actually giving birth to 2 children. My third was then going to court. And I can be right there, right this second, with the judge sitting up here in his podium, and I'm sitting here in my witness stand, and him looking down at me like this, you know, like, and telling me that I needed to sign the papers away, that I had no right to keep this child or these children. They were going to be taken care of by a loving set of parents, mother and father, that I was doing the right thing. This was my gift to God. I'm thinking, oh, you have no idea. But anyway, and then years later, losing our older son. Our oldest son, Jason, died of AIDS at the age of 21. First, he was born with a hole in his heart, so that was my fault. And the second son was born with cerebral palsy, some more. And then Jason died at 21, some more. So I kept thinking, you know, when is enough enough? But I always took that all in stride. I also became a seriously embedded overachiever. My whole life from that point on was to make up, to make good, to do better, to somehow atone for my sin. So, you know, even to this day, I taught in the Oshkosh School District for 31 years as an elementary teacher and a reading specialist. I'm in my 7th year of full-time at the university at UW-Oshkosh teaching pre-service teachers classes, running a program at UW-Sheboygan for students to continue with their, to get their teacher licensure there. I private consult with 2 school districts in Wisconsin. I work with the Department of Public Instruction and mentor schools on responsive prevention. Okay, so I've always been an overachiever. Got my master's degree between Sun 2 and Sun 3, working full-time. You know, you just do what you have to do. When I think back of it, I think to myself, how in God's name did I ever do all that? I'm still doing it. And luckily, I love what I do, very much so. But you spend the whole time because you were told back then that, you know, you made a terrible choice, and that's the way it was. So actually, they told us that we had a choice, and even in the book, and several of people, the women said, you know, talk about choices that they made. There was no choice. I want you to understand that. We were not given a choice, okay? We were told from day one, right after the doctor's appointment that said you were pregnant, that you needed to give that baby up for adoption. You were not, it would be selfish to keep and raise that child. Very rarely did any white women keep their babies because of a reputation of their families. And maybe just a little bit more late women